Erdogan unleashes fury. Israel accused of fueling Syrian instability after tense talks. The simmering tensions between Turkey and Israel have erupted once more, with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan launching a scathing attack on Israel for allegedly undermining stability in neighboring Syria. This outburst follows closely on the heels of diplomatic talks aimed at de-escalating the escalating conflict between the two nations on Syrian soil, talks that clearly failed to achieve their intended objective. Speaking at the prestigious Antalya Diplomacy Forum on the southern Turkish coast, Erdogan delivered a blistering condemnation of Israel's actions, accusing the nation of actively seeking to destabilize Syria. His words resonated with the gravity of the situation. Turkey will not allow Syria to be dragged into a new vortex of instability, he declared, his voice dripping with indignation. He went further, directly accusing Israel of attempting to undermine the 8 December revolution, a reference to the uprising that ultimately led to the downfall of the Assad regime after decades of authoritarian rule. The Turkish presidency released a statement emphasizing Erdogan's unwavering commitment to lifting sanctions imposed on Syria. In a pointed message delivered to Syrian officials, Erdogan underscored Turkey's determination to prevent a resurgence of chaos within Syria's borders. He asserted that Turkey welcomes the fact that those who want chaos in Syria to occur again are not given an opportunity, highlighting Ankara's proactive stance in safeguarding regional stability. The recent surge in tensions between Ankara and Tel Aviv stems from a series of Israeli airstrikes that targeted 3 key Syrian military bases earlier this month. These strikes, which significantly escalated the conflict, reportedly led to the deployment of Turkish military assessment teams to critical Syrian infrastructure. Reuters, citing reliable sources, reported that these teams meticulously surveyed the main airport in Hama province, as well as the strategically important T4 and Palmyra air bases in Homs. Their mission: to assess the runways, hangars, and overall infrastructure to determine the feasibility of deploying Turkish forces and military hardware as part of a potential joint defense pact between Ankara and Damascus. The sheer scale of Israel's military intervention in Syria cannot be understated. Since Assad's retreat to Moscow 4 months ago, Israeli forces have launched hundreds of airstrikes against Syrian military targets. These operations have systematically destroyed critical military assets, including missile systems and air defense networks, resources that the transitional government in Damascus had desperately hoped to inherit and utilize to secure the nation's sovereignty. The ongoing Israeli military presence around Mount Hermon adds another layer of complexity to the already volatile situation. Despite limited signs suggesting an imminent Israeli withdrawal, an Israeli tour company has controversially begun offering twice-daily hiking tour of the area. This decision, made in apparent cooperation with Israeli troops stationed in the region, has drawn sharp criticism from numerous international bodies and observers, raising questions about the appropriateness of commercializing a conflict zone. The move, viewed by many as deeply insensitive and potentially provocative, further inflames already precarious regional tensions. Erdogan's fiery rhetoric underscores the deep-seated mistrust between Turkey and Israel, a chasm widened by years of conflicting geopolitical interests and differing approaches to the Syrian conflict. The recent diplomatic efforts, while ostensibly aimed at de-escalation, appear to have had little discernible impact, leaving the prospect of further escalation hanging heavy in the air. The international community faces a critical challenge in mitigating the risks of further conflict in the volatile region, with the potential ramifications extending far beyond the immediate participants. The future stability of Syria, and indeed the broader Middle East, hangs precariously in the balance, heavily influenced by the unpredictable dynamics of this increasingly fraught relationship between Ankara and Tel Aviv. The consequences of inaction could be catastrophic. The need for concerted diplomatic efforts to de-escalate the situation, and for all parties to engage in meaningful dialogue, is paramount. The shadow of renewed conflict looms large, demanding immediate and decisive action from the international community to prevent a further descent into chaos. The stakes are simply too high to ignore. The fragile peace in the region hangs by a thread, and the potential for a wider conflagration remains a terrifyingly real possibility. The world watches with bated breath, hoping for a resolution before it is too late.